They were two of the brightest minds of their generation, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Two men who didn't just create companies, but shaped the future of technology itself. Yet, behind the glowing screens and the applause of the world, their story was far from simple. It was a mix of admiration, competition, anger, and ultimately, respect. It all started in the 1970s, an era of wild ideas and garage dreams. Steve Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak were working on a personal computer that could change everything. They called it Apple. Meanwhile, a young man named Bill Gates, who had dropped out of Harvard, was building something else, not a computer, but the brain that would run them, Microsoft. Jobs was a visionary, someone who could see the future before anyone else. Gates was a strategist, someone who could build the path to that future with logic and precision. They were opposites, and that's what made their connection so powerful and dangerous. When Apple launched the Macintosh, it was revolutionary, the first computer with a graphical interface. Jobs wanted to make computers beautiful, while Gates wanted to make them useful. But soon, something unexpected happened. Bill Gates saw potential in the same ideas Apple was working on. Microsoft was developing its own operating system, Windows. Jobs was furious. He felt betrayed. "How could you steal from us?" Jobs shouted during one of their most heated meetings. Bill, calm as always, replied, "Steve, we both had this idea, it's just that I executed it better." That moment defined their rivalry. To the public, they were enemies. To each other, they were reminders of what they could never be. Jobs saw Gates as a man without imagination. Gates saw Jobs as a dreamer disconnected from reality. But deep down, there was something more powerful, mutual respect. As years passed, their paths diverged. Apple went through ups and downs. Microsoft became a tech giant, and Gates became the richest man on earth. Yet, something inside Jobs burned, a desire to prove that art could win against logic. When Jobs returned to Apple after years of exile, the company was almost dead. But he came back with fire. He introduced the iMac, the iPod, and then the iPhone, devices that didn't just sell. They changed how humans interacted with technology. And for the first time in years, Bill Gates watched from afar, in awe. One day, Jobs and Gates shared a stage together. The world expected tension, but instead, there was warmth. Jobs looked at Bill and said, "We've always competed. But that competition made both of us better." Gates smiled and said, "Without Steve's vision, the world wouldn't be where it is today." It wasn't about who won, it was about how both of them shaped history. Gates built the foundation of modern computing. Jobs gave it soul. When Steve Jobs passed away in 2011, Bill Gates was one of the first to write a public message. He said, "Steve and I spent more than half our lives in the same arena. For those of us lucky enough to work with him, it's been an insanely great honor." And that's when the world realized, theirs wasn't a rivalry of hate. It was a rivalry that created progress, innovation, and a new world. In the end, Steve Jobs taught us to think different. And Bill Gates taught us to make it possible. Two minds, two paths, one legacy. Sometimes, your greatest rival is also your greatest teacher. Because genius only truly shines when it's challenged.